If the original GTA Trilogy 3 Vice City San Andreas is nice, hot, piping hot, of delicious pepperoni pizza with the best ingredients that still taste good even to this day, the Definitive Edition is also a pizza, but with not as many pepperonis or cheese, and with marinara sauce poking like in parts where the cheese is supposed to be. And the other problem is, I know this is something I've said and others have been saying, it needed more time in the oven. So in other words, this pizza is very undercooked. All of a sudden I'm in the mood for pizza. But anyways, let's ask the question, who's to blame for the debacle of the GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition? Is it Take-Two? Is it Rockstar? Is it Grove Street Games? Because all three have a part to play in the blame game. By the way, let me know below in the comment section, who do you think is mostly to blame for the GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition? Your thoughts, your views, your opinions, welcome below in the comment section. Before we continue, let's go over to the poll that I put on my community tab and see how it's going. Over 327 votes so far. Thanks to everyone for voting. 46% give it a poo rating, and 16%, let's see, a bronze medal, 15% silver medal. That's probably somewhere I am, somewhere between the silver, bronze medal category, and 13% say it's a lemon, 10% give it a gold medal rating. Thanks to everyone that took their time to vote. So let's start things off with the group that is least to blame, but does share some of the blame. Grove Street Games, formerly known as Wardrum Studios, a smaller development studio founded in 2007. According to their LinkedIn, they have between 11 to 50 employees. Their CEO is Thomas Williamson, who had this to say regarding GTA Definitive Edition. It's so fun to see players out there really enjoying what we put together for them. I'm honestly enjoying the unparalleled level of scrutiny on our studio. Today we are celebrating our monumental project launch while we work on updates. Smiley face. Now I'm going to give Grove Street Games some credit here because their social medias up until the launch of the GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition have been pretty good. They've been very good about interacting with people on Twitter, so I give them a plus for that. However, I have to give them also some of the blame for the state of the GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition. Not all of it. Nowhere near all of it. They were basically put in charge of this or hired or contracted by Rockstar Take-Two to take on the monumental task of remastering GTA 3 Vice City and San Andreas. And this is obviously a smaller development studio. They were completely over their head, but they did their best. However, I don't think that they deserve all the blame. In fact, I'm only going to give Grove Street Games, formerly Wardrum Studios, 15% of the blame. I'm sure some of you disagree and think they deserve way more, but I'll explain why they only get 15% of the blame. Now let's move over our focus to the other two culprits. Take-Two Interactive, multi-billion-dollar publisher of Rockstar games, 2K, Hangar 13, etc. Take-Two is going to get a much larger chunk of the blame than Grove Street Games did. They went after RE3, RE Vice City, as well as other modders prior to the Definitive Edition announcement, and they still are going after them, their legal teams. And all those modders were doing was trying to improve the original versions of 3 Vice City and San Andreas on PC. And yeah, they also added versions of Vice City and other locations on the story mode map of GTA 5 on PC, which in my opinion should not be illegal because it wasn't added or put into online. But nonetheless, Take-Two has gone after a lot of these GTA fans who are also modders. So well done there, awesome PR by Take-Two. They also most likely are guilty of pushing the Definitive Edition to a holiday 2021 release, after the GTA 5 Enhanced Expanded Milk Edition had to be delayed because, well, it was originally going to release on November 11th, 2021. But because of a delay, it's now set for March 2022 release. My guess is the Definitive Edition was planned further down the road, maybe somewhere in 2022, which would have given Grove Street Games more time to put some polish on those games. But because of issues with the Milk Edition of GTA 5 that Rockstar was having, as a result, and this is pure speculation on my part, Take-Two most likely bumped up the release date for the definitive edition of the GTA Trilogy. And 5 years ago, they did something very similar. Mafia 3 released in 2016. The difference is Mafia 3 made by Hangar 13 was set for an October 2016 release date, but the game definitely needed more polish as well. It needed a few more months to work out a lot of the bugs and issues that it ended up having at launch, but because Take-Two wants to make money and appease the investors, especially during the holiday season, in this case in holiday 2016, they had to get Mafia 3 out as soon as possible, even if it had a lot of problems, and if in the long run it hurt, not helped, the Mafia franchise. The same thing goes with the GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition. I feel like, personally, that this set of games was most likely going to come out sometime in 2022, which is why the GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition feels rushed, because I don't think it was meant to come out on November 11th, 2021, because that was when the Milk Edition of GTA 5 was supposed to come out. So how much blame does Take-Two Interactive deserve? Well, I'm going to give them 35% of the blame. I'm sure some of you were actually expecting more, but I feel like when it comes to Rockstar, unlike other studios like 2K, Hangar 13, Rockstar has a little bit more autonomy than some of the other development studios. While Take-Two Interactive deserves 35% of the blame, just like Grove Street Games deserves 15% of the game, most of the blame, 50% of it, goes directly to Rockstar Studios for not showing off gameplay prior to launch. That seemed very suspicious. And of course, they used the whole nostalgia, releasing the Definitive Edition trailer on the 20th anniversary of GTA 3 with a remix of that classic song from the original GTA Trilogy. And they showed really good parts of the Definitive Edition, and it got a lot of us excited about it. But after that, they didn't even bother showing any more gameplay. It was only because of the Sony midnight launch snafu that allowed players from around the world to check out 3 Vice City and San Andreas Definitive Editions prior to the official launch at 10 a.m. Eastern Time on Thursday, November 11th. The other issue is Rockstar and Take-Two did not release any review codes for YouTubers or other sites that do video game reviews. In other words, they didn't want reviews dropping the day before or the day of the launch of the GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition, because they were most likely afraid that the reviewers were not going to be kind. Now, there's plenty of other reasons why I blame Rockstar Games, including not doing the remaster in-house. Rockstar Games is one of the biggest studios in the world. They have thousands of employees. They have offices from Scotland to California to Australia, everywhere in between. Yet they put 3 monumental games on the shoulders of a smaller studio like Grove Street Games, with once again between 11 to 50 employees. It just boggles the mind why 3 games like 3 Vice City San Andreas, which basically made Rockstar what it is today, would be so quickly pushed over to a studio that at the end of the day did their best, like I mentioned. And it is fun to play those games, but at the same time, there's obvious issues that all 3 games have. The trilogy would have been better suited if Rockstar would have had a team in studio that actually took the time to make sure that the remasters of 3 Vice City and San Andreas were done right. Now, along with the games itself, another thing that's obviously missing from the game is quite a few songs. And I also fault Rockstar with this one because, like Take-Two, Rockstar's a multi-billion-dollar company, and I don't know what excuse they're going to come up with to explain why they didn't renew all the songs. I can forgive a few songs not being renewed, but there's so many songs that were not renewed for Vice City and San Andreas. It's ridiculous. And they had the pockets, they had the money to go to these music labels and get those songs relicensed. They were able to have the songs licensed to begin with for the original Vice City and San Andreas. Why couldn't they get them renewed for the definitive editions of Vice City and San Andreas? And speaking of the original trilogy, less than a week after officially announcing the definitive edition, they pull the original trilogy from all the stores, all the online stores The original GTA 3, Vice City, San Andreas, gone. Fortunately, I still happen to have those in my library, but there was a lot of people that were probably caught flat-footed and didn't have enough time to purchase those 3 games while they had a chance. At the very least, Rockstar should have given us a bigger window to purchase the original games till, say, the end of the year, December 31st, 2021. But within about a week, those games were gone from the online shelves. And then let's go over to PC. Yes, there's issues on the Switch. It's a bit more playable on the other consoles, Xbox One, Xbox Series, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5. For the most part, I've been personally enjoying it, but there are issues that I'm even coming across when it comes to the games on the PS5. But PC got royally screwed by Rockstar. What else is new? When the Rockstar Games launcher crashed, and I think it was like a 36 hour period that the Rockstar Games launcher was down, and that not only screwed over people that were wanting to play the new GTA Trilogy, it also had a negative effect on anyone that did not buy the GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition, that were playing GTA 5, Red Dead Redemption 2, Bully, a variety of other games that they've purchased to play through the Rockstar Games launcher. They were unable to touch their games on PC for 30 to 36 hours until the Rockstar Games launcher was finally restored, with some games missing. Yes, the GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition were MIA for reasons. Of course, Rockstar came up with some sort of excuse. We talked about it in my rant video a couple nights ago. Basically, according to data miners, this is what is the reasons. There was unlicensed songs still in the code, and that just asks the question, was Rockstar actually trying to get those songs license renewed? But up until launch, they were unable to do so. And therefore, once it launched, they decided, screw it, we'll just pull the songs out since we couldn't get the songs renewed. We tried our best, but our best wasn't good enough. They wanted more money, them being the record labels. Or were they just too lazy to remove those songs to begin with? Then we got to talk about the so-called holy grail of developer notes. That's quite interesting. I would love to see what was in those notes, and why they were still in the code is quite interesting. But there was something else that was in the code that you think would have been gone a long time ago, because it caused a lot of controversy back in the 2000s. The hot coffee files were still in San Andreas. Now, most of you are probably aware of the hot coffee, the mini sex game that never made it to the main game, but data miners on PC a long time ago found hot coffee, and it caused a bit of a controversy. So you think that at the very least hot coffee would be nowhere in the code of San Andreas, but no, it was still there along with the unlicensed songs and this holy grail of dev notes. Rockstar didn't even bother removing those files from the code of San Andreas. That's pretty lazy in my opinion. And the other question you have to ask yourself is, why didn't they simply just launch the Definitive Edition on other platforms? Because here's a fun fact. A lot of people on PC don't like the Rockstar Games launcher. A lot of them prefer Steam or Epic or some other one out there. So you'd think that Rockstar would have, put it on GOG or Steam or Epic, or put it on as many launchers as possible in order to get as many sales for the GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition on PC as possible. But no, they only wanted to put it on the Rockstar Games launcher. I think there's a plan to eventually put it on Steam somewhere down the road, but we'll just have to wait and see on that one. I think that players on PC, and I think this could also apply to players on console if they want it, should have the right to get a refund. It happened about a year ago when it came to the debacle of Cyberpunk 2077. And right now, you have to say that at the very least, the GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition launch is an outright disaster on the Rockstar Games launcher. And there were people that purchased that game in advance before it even launched. And several days later after launch, they still cannot play 3 Vice City or San Andreas Definitive Editions. Even though they gave Rockstar money for it, and it was supposed to release on a certain date, November 11th, they still can't play it. Therefore, they're entitled to a refund. And I think anyone else that's not happy with the Definitive Edition trilogy of GTA, whether you're on PC or Switch, especially on Switch, or on Xbox or on PlayStation, if you're not happy with the games, if you've been having issues with it, crashes and other problems and bugs that make the game unplayable for you, then yeah, I think you deserve a refund as well. Lucky for me, I haven't experienced those serious problems whenever I'm playing 3 Vice City or San Andreas. It has crashed for me a few times, but I'm still able to at least play these games. And for all those reasons, that's why I believe Rockstar deserves 50% of the blame when it comes to the failure of the GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition. GTA 3, Vice City, San Andreas deserves so much better, and without these games, Rockstar would have never been the success it is today. Think about some other games that came after them, like Bully, Midnight Club LA, LA Noire, Red Dead Redemption, GTA 4, GTA 5, Red Dead Redemption 2, and of course GTA Online, which has made Rockstar and Take-Two billions of dollars. GTA 5 is one of the biggest selling video games of all time, and GTA Online has made them tons of money as well with shark cards. Yet, where would Rockstar be without the success of GTA 3, Vice City, San Andreas? If those games weren't a success, it wouldn't have built the Rockstar empire to one of the largest development studios that it is today. The reason why I'm enjoying these games is because they were built with the codes of the original games. And yeah, the paint job for the most part looked pretty good, except for the draw distance issues of San Andreas, which really hurt San Andreas. I'm going to do a draw distance video about that in a few days from now. It's just insane how much smaller that map looks, and that's not a good thing, Rockstar. It kills the illusion of the scope and feel and awe of the San Andreas map. Now, look, it's still the biggest map between the 3 worlds, but the draw distance issues there, sometimes draw distance can be a double-edged sword. But another comparison I want to make before we wrap up is with Mafia Definitive Edition, which was a remake of Mafia City of Lost Heaven. And Hangar 13 did a pretty good job with the remake of Mafia Definitive Edition. I've been a huge Mafia fan, just like I'm a GTA fan and a Red Dead fan. And I absolutely loved playing Mafia Definitive Edition, just like I loved playing Mafia City of Lost Heaven many, many years ago. And this was a faithful remake to the original game. It's far from perfect, but it's still absolutely beautiful. And you can notice a difference between GTA Definitive Edition, that remake, which the developers at Hangar 13, those that worked on this remake, put a lot of love and care into it. And while, like I said, it's definitely not a perfect game, you can still feel like this is a worthy remake to the original Mafia City of Lost Heaven. Circling back to the beginning of the video, this is why I made the comparison between the original trilogy being this awesome, hot, piping, delicious pizza that was cooked just right with the right amount of cheese and pepperoni on it, and then you have something similar, which you can feel it, you can taste the ingredients in it, just like with the code that's in the Definitive Edition of 3 Vice City San Andreas. It's there somewhere, but the pizza that we got from the Definitive Edition doesn't have as many pepperonis and not as much cheese, and then you have, like I said, you have the marinara sauce kind of going out of control here and there. And sometimes you bite into it and you're like, it's not bad. Then there's other parts where you're like, ugh, and the marinara sauce just gets all over you. And it's obvious that it could have used a few more minutes, or in this case, months, at the very least, in the oven. Okay, that's the last time I'm going to use the in the oven reference. I know you've heard that ad nauseum over the past few days. But anyway, so that's how I see the situation revolved around the GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition. I hope that Grove Street Games and Rockstar will be able to make serious fixes, improvements, patches to these games, because in the coding itself, there is still 3, there is Vice City, there is San Andreas. It has potential to fully be those remasters that we were hoping for, but the issues that people are compiling lists of continue to grow. And those problems need to be addressed by Grove Street Games and Rockstar. Whether or not they're capable of giving us fixes and patches to these games in order to improve them overall in almost every category and issue that players are having remains to be seen. Here's hoping that Grove Street Games and Rockstar come together and are able to resolve most of the issues that are plaguing the GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition. A few patches could make the games better, or they could end up making them worse. But who do you think is mostly to blame when it comes to the GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition? Grove Street Games, Take-Two Interactive, or Rockstar? Your thoughts, your views, your opinions regarding the GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition, as always, welcome below in the comments section.